So you love epic fantasy. I do too. But here's the question. How do you compete with tablets and phones and everything else like video games and screens? How do you pass the torch of Middle Earth on to your kids so that they fall in love with fantasy as well? Over the years, I've come up with several different hacks that actually worked for me, but not all of them worked for me as well. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video, how to get your kids off of the screens and start getting them into things like Tolkien and Lewis and all the cool fantasy stories that we love. The first option I think that we can try, especially if you have younger kids between the ages of 5 and 8, is to try the read-along method. That's the part where you get to do all the funny voices, even though they don't sound cool and they're kind of cheesy. These are the things that kids actually remembered. I did this with the Wearing the Witch in the Wardrobe with my kids. They loved it. I had fun. We had fun. And it's one way to sort of interact and just take it some time and just sit down and read a book together. Plus, you as a dad, you're not scrolling and you're actually building memories and some quality time with your kid. Another method I used that worked really well was the film method. We'd watch the films like The Hobbit, all 3 movies, even though, yes, I know the Hobbit movies aren't the same as the Hobbit book, but it was one of those ways that helped us bridge the gap between the Hobbit the movie and Hobbit the book to get my kids to actually pick up the book and start reading. My kids enjoy some fantasy stories now, partly because we started out with the films first. Another option that you can explore is creating a place in the house that is designated for nothing but reading nook. I tried this, it didn't work for me, but maybe it will work for you. It's the place where you just go as a family and you read. And when you're in that corner or you're in that spot, everything that happens here is only reading. No tablets, no cell phones, no games, nothing like that. It's reading only. That's an option that you can try. I failed at it, as I said, but maybe you can find some success in places where, hey, I failed at. Now, where do you start kids out when it comes to fantasy? The last thing you want to do is, get them into something they're not ready for. So I wouldn't recommend starting with The Lord of the Rings or even anything with Sanderson. Obviously, they're not at that age where they can enjoy that yet. Personally, if they're between the ages of 5 and 8, I would start with the Chronicles of Narnia. And this is going to be one of those that you probably read as a family. And that's a really cool thing because the stories that happen here of good versus evil and everything with Aslan is just so incredible. It allows the imagination to just take over. And this is a great place to get started when it comes to reading fantasy as a child. Now, if they're between the ages of 9 and 12, obviously you can get them into The Hobbit. You can get them in Christopher Paolini's Eragon. That's a great place to start. Percy Jackson books are an incredible place to begin. Those are the type of books I would recommend that you get them into. The Hobbit, Percy Jackson, some Eragon, anything like that that just opens up their imagination and is on their reading level is going to help them get into the story a little bit more. Again, if they're in that age group, you probably don't want to be handing them Game of Thrones or The Wheel of Time or even anything like the Stormlight Archive simply because they're not ready for it. Find the stories that are an adventure about ordinary people starting to learn to do extraordinary things. And that's one of the cool things about fantasy is there's so many good places to start. But like I said, take some of those suggestions. Maybe they work from you. Some of them didn't work for me, but I'm hoping that some of them end up working for you as well. Remember, it's not really about reading. It's about forming a bond with your kid. Some of my favorite conversations are walking up to my son and say, hey, have you gotten to this spot yet? And them being like, no. But yet the anticipation in their eyes of me saying, let me know when you get there so we can talk about it. That's fun. I've had some cool conversations with my kids just on doing that right there alone. And it's something that I think really is meaningful to them, but it's probably more meaningful to me as a dad. Let's just be honest. And if you're interested in stopping the scroll yourself or building a community right here at Geeky Dad's Reads, where we're just going to talk about books all the time, putting down the phone, putting down the screens ourselves, and getting back into reading. I'm JJ. This is Geeky Dad's Reads. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Later.